Welcome to all to the online class with Mrs. Tripti Sharma. This is English Literature class for Standard 7. Today's topic is The Blue Umbrella by Ruskin Bond. It is part 2. Now, dear students, we know that the famous novel The Blue Umbrella is the creation of Ruskin Bond, who was born in Kasauli, India. Ruskin Bond is an Indian author of British descent and he lives in Mussoorie, India. The Indian Council for Child Education has recognized his role in the growth of children's literature in India. Dear students, the first book he read as a child was Ali in Wonderland and Other Tall Tales. The Room on the Roof was published when he was 21 and was partly based on his experiences in Dehradun. Though he has authored several collections, Rusty's Adventures, The Panther's Moon, The Night Train at Deoli, and Our Trees Still Grow at Dehra are his most popular story collections. Dear students, now we are going to study about a very famous novel by Ruskin Bond. And the name of this novel is The Blue Umbrella. Dear students, we are going to start this chapter with self-reflection. Self-reflection means knowing yourself. What is that you value the most? Is it a toy, a photograph, a piece of clothing, or something else? Write a couple of lines about your prized possession and state why it is your favorite. Let us read about Binya's adventure to save her prized blue umbrella. Binya belonged to the part of the Himalayas known as Garhwal. One day, she chanced upon a group of picnickers, one of whom gave her a pretty blue umbrella. Binya grew very fond of it. Binya one day saw some foreigner tourists They were enjoying different activities and they had a blue umbrella. Binya wanted that and luckily got it from one of the tourists. Binya really loved that umbrella. Binya seldom closed the blue umbrella. Even when she had it in the house, she left it lying open in a corner of the room. Binya used to keep her umbrella always open. Very rarely she closed it, but mostly she used to keep it open. She was very fond of her blue umbrella. Whenever Binya went out, whether it was to graze the cows, or fetch water from the spring, or carry milk to the little tea shop on the Tehri road, she took the umbrella with her. That patch of sky blue silk could always be seen on the hillside. We all know that Binya was fond of her umbrella and she used to keep it open, whether she was at home or at the workplace or in the market. The villagers used the Tehri road to go to the market town. Some used the bus, a few rode on mules, most people walked. Today, everyone on the road turned their heads to stare at the girl with the bright blue umbrella. The villagers used the Tehri road to go to the market town. Their modes of travelling might be different, but they had only one center of attraction, and the attraction point for the villagers was the blue umbrella that Binya had. Binya sat down in the shade of a pine tree. The umbrella, still open, lay beside her. She cradled her head in her arms and presently she dozed off. It was that kind of day, sleepily warm and summery. The day was little warm and summery. Binya lay down. She kept her blue umbrella open beside her, and Binya probably slept. And while she slept, a wind sprang up. It came quietly, swishing gently through the trees, humming softly. Then it was joined by other random gusts, rushing over the tops of the mountains. The trees shook their heads and came to life. The wind fanned Binya's cheeks. The umbrella stirred on the grass. Now the wind came. It came very softly, very gently, with a swishing sound. It fanned the cheeks of Binya. For there suddenly it felt as if the trees on the mountain tops became alive, and the umbrella also stirred on the grass. The wind grew stronger, picking up dead leaves and sending them spinning and swirling through the air. It got into the umbrella and began to drag it over the grass. Suddenly, it lifted the umbrella and carried it about 6 feet from the sleeping girl. The sound awoke Binya. She was on her feet immediately, and then she was leaping down the steep slope. But just as she was within reach of the umbrella, the wind picked it up again and carried it further downhill. The wind became stronger. It started picking up dead leaves and sending them spinning and swirling. It also picked up the umbrella, and suddenly the umbrella started flying in the air. Suddenly the girl, Binya, woke up, and on seeing the umbrella in the air, she started running after it. She was leaping down the steep slope. She was very close to the umbrella. Oh, at the very same time, a fresh gust of air carried it further downhill. Binya set off in pursuit. The wind was in a wicked, playful mood. It would leave the umbrella alone for a few moments, but as soon as Binya came near, it would pick up the umbrella again and send it bouncing, floating, dancing away from her. The wind was probably in the playful mood. The wind was probably playing a game with Binya. Binya was chasing the umbrella. She was leaping down the steep slope. She was within reach of the umbrella, and suddenly the wind again picked it up and sent it bouncing, floating away from her. The hill grew steeper. Binya knew that after 20 yards it would fall away in a precipice. She ran faster, and the wind ran with her, ahead of her, and the blue umbrella stayed up with the wind. Binya was trying her best. She was running faster and faster, but wind was also in the playful mood. The wind ran with her. The umbrella stayed up with the wind. A fresh gust picked it up and carried it to the very edge of the cliff. There it balanced for a few seconds before toppling over out of sight. Now, a fresh gust picked up the umbrella and carried it to the edge of the cliff. Binya ran to the edge of the cliff, going down on her hands and knees. She peered down the cliff face. About 100 feet below, a small stream rushed between great boulders. Hardly anything grew on the cliff face. Just a few stunted bushes, and halfway down, a wild cherry tree growing crookedly out of the rocks and hanging across the chasm. The umbrella had stuck in the cherry tree. Binya was very fond of her umbrella. She could not let it go. So she ran to the edge of the cliff. She wanted her umbrella back. So she started going down on her hands and knees. It was really very scary. There was nothing. A small stream was rushing about 100 feet below. The cliff face had nothing, only few stunted bushes were there. The blue umbrella had stuck in the cherry tree. A cherry tree was growing crookedly out of the rocks. Binya didn't hesitate. She may have been timid with strangers, but she was at home on a hillside. She stuck her bare leg over the edge of the cliff and began climbing down. She kept her face to the hillside, feeling her way with her feet, only changing her handhold when she knew her feet were secure. Sometimes she held on to the thorny bilberry bushes, but she did not trust the other plants, which came away very easily. Binya was a very confident girl. She knew the ways to live on a hillside, though she was very timid with strangers. Anyways, Binya stuck her bare leg over the edge of the cliff and she started climbing down. While climbing down, she kept her face to the hillside. She was feeling her way with her feet. She was doing so, and she also knew that she had to rest her feet on the strong bushes. So she was resting her feet on the bilberry bushes, not on any other plant. Bilberry is a type of low-growing shrub bearing black berries. Loose stones rattled down the cliff. Once on their way, the stones did not stop until they reached the bottom of the hill, and they took other stones with them, so that there was soon a cascade of stones, and Binya had to be very careful not to start a landslide. Here, cascade means something that falls in stages down a steep rocky slope. So dear students, here Binya has to be very careful not to start a landslide. As agile as a mountain goat, she did not take more than 5 minutes to reach the crooked cherry tree. But the most difficult task remained. She had to crawl along the trunk of the tree, which stood out at right angles from the cliff. Only by doing this could she reach the trapped umbrella. This was the most difficult thing. The crooked cherry tree stood out at right angles from the cliff, and Binya had to crawl along the trunk of the tree to get her umbrella. Here, Binya has been compared with a mountain goat. She reached the crooked cherry tree very fast. Binya felt no fear when climbing trees. She was proud of the fact that she could climb them as well as Biju, her brother. Gripping the rough cherry bark with her toes and using her knees as leverage, she crawled along the trunk of the projecting tree until she was almost within reach of the umbrella. She noticed with dismay that the blue cloth was torn in a couple of places. She looked down, and it was only then that she felt afraid. She was right over the chasm, balanced precariously about 80 feet above the boulder-strewn stream. Looking down, she felt quite dizzy. Her hands shook, and the tree shook too. If she slipped now, there was only one direction in which she could fall. Down, down, into the depths of that dark and shadowy ravine. Binya climbed the trees fearlessly. She was very proud of herself. She was very proud of it because she too could climb the trees as well as her brother Biju. She was gripping the rough cherry bark with her toes. Using her toes and knees, she crawled the trunk of the tree and she reached the umbrella. When she was very close to the umbrella, she noticed that the blue umbrella was torn in few places. This made her sad. Anyways, she looked down and now she was afraid. She was afraid on seeing the depth. Her hand shook. She might have fallen. But this was the time to balance herself. Binya also did the same. Binya knew the fact. If she slipped now, there was only one direction in which she could fall. She would have fallen into the depths of that dark and shadowy ravine. Ravine means a deep, narrow gorge with steep sides. There was only one thing to do: concentrate on the patch of blue just a couple of feet away from her. She did not look down or up, but straight ahead. And wheeling herself forward, she managed to reach the umbrella. She could not crawl back with it in her hands. So, after dislodging it from the forked branch in which it had stuck, she let it fall, still open, into the ravine below. Cushioned by the wind, the umbrella floated serenely downwards, landing in a thicket of nettles. Binya crawled back along the trunk of the cherry tree. 20 minutes later, she emerged from the nettle clump, her precious umbrella held aloft. She had nettle stings all over her legs, but she was hardly aware of the smarting. Now, dear students, there was no other way, so Binya concentrated on the blue umbrella, which was very close to her, just 2 feet away from her. So she looked straight ahead and she managed to reach the umbrella. After reaching the umbrella, she held it in her hands. Here in this paragraph, we have read the description of nettles. Nettles are a herbaceous plant which has jagged leaves covered with stinging hairs. Anyways, Binya crawled back along the trunk of the cherry tree. This took about 20 minutes. So after 20 minutes, she emerged from the nettle clump. She was holding her umbrella in her hand. She was so happy with her umbrella that she could not realize that her legs were bleeding at places. There were stings of nettle all over her legs. Binya was very happy after getting her umbrella back. That's all in this class. Thank you. Stay safe, stay home, and keep studying.